recording anyway. So, all right, let's do a little bit of something. We said that one of these nights would become an evening to practice the stick form. So this is as good a time of any. Actually, we'll come back to this in a second. Let's just start by. That's fine, actually. I'm going to use a a much shorter one to do the demo anyway, because people learning this are going to be inside, and so we can't have people practicing a full-size staff form. So we're going to use a shorter stick to practice, because really it's about turning a wheel, and for self-defense, about protecting ourselves. So allow your feet to touch. Push your head top up to the highest point. Relax your shoulders, relax your hips. Breathing deep. Bring your hands together in the center. Take a deep breath. And then relax. Let's just start with some breathing. So inhaling as if you're collecting all of the chi and then pressing it into the center. So make it a stretch, reach all the way, fingertips. Same thing on the sides, reach out, extend your neck, relax your tailbone. Breathing deep. Go at your own pace. Do 3 more. We're gonna spend some time working with the stick today, so we can not have to do quite so much qigong. Going on your own, stretch all the way, inflate all the way. And at the end, bring everything back to the center. Allow your feet to touch. Relax your tailbone. Line up your spine. Bring everything to the center. Take a deep breath. And next, because we're going to work with the stick today, we're going to talk about a couple of different ideas. First, the optimal stick length is going to be to the middle of the sternum, right? So this is a BIAN, and we're going to talk about terminology. But just so we have an idea, if you hold it on your elbow here, and then you reach out, it should go to the end of the fingertips this way. So right here, and then lined up, if you press that against the wall here, as such, this is the length. It goes to the sternum, which is a very useful length. It means it's been tailored to your physical structure. You can hold it here and turn this kind of thing. If you don't have it, which is okay, that's normal, you can build one later. If you have something shorter, you can use really anything, even something longer, something that's more shaped like a pool cue. We can use the same techniques. It's all hand techniques, body technique. So we don't need something very specific. In fact, we can use something much shorter, all the way down to when you get bored and you're stuck in the meeting and you're still on the Zoom call, so you can't really, but you have a pen. You can practice your BIAN techniques because all we're looking for is the rotation, the way the rotation is happening. Is it over the top, from underneath? And so the BIAN is one of the most fascinating stick forms, because specifically we can use a very short stick and still retain the same type of power application. And you might say, what's the value of having a short stick like this? Well, if I have an opponent and I want to strike my opponent, I don't want to damage my delicate hands, right? I don't want to scratch a nail. So I have a device, even if it's very short, even if it's just within the hand, I can use the stick to hit something, right? So whether we use the back end of it this way, or whether this turning here, instead of turning from a very long stick, right, turning all the way across this way, in close quarters with my opponent, I can still have, so this protects ourself, this protects our hand from having to strike the opponent, and we can still generate power. It's a wheel. It's just a much smaller wheel. So I'm going to, for sake of ease of use, I'm going to use a stick. Actually, I don't know what the dimensions are for this, but you can see it's not very thick, and this is a white waxwood stick, right? The one you have is good. That's also, I think that's a white waxwood stick, right? So let's actually just start with one of the most basic exercises. So while we're talking, so if you're holding the stick this way, this is just crossing the stick between the palms. And so one of the ideas behind this is transferring the palms on either side of the stick. So I'm holding it on one end. By the way, we have a yin-yang palm all the time, right? There's a consistent change between one hand is gripping closed and the other hand is open. And so then we change this way. So this sliding, and I don't know the specific name of this exercise for the BIAN, but in the Mandarin, the activity, the action of this turning between the two is called waba. And the waba is the idea of the sliding in the hands. So one of the other things we want to be is very accurate. So when you're gripping, try to connect right at the very end. So if you have an object, you can measure to see there's no extra gap, right? We don't have this extra length sticking out. That's incorrect, because if we're doing something, that can get stuck. And we're also not missing. In addition to not sticking out, it's also not in, because then we don't have enough grip. So we want to be very precise. And one of the purposes, we're going to do 10,000 of these, maybe 10 million of these, this turning, this waba, just like this, is you become very familiar with the item that you're holding. So especially if you want to become precise about where you catch your grip on each end. And this is slightly more challenging with a smaller stick. It's if I use something larger, you can see a different kind of motion, right? I'm pulling in this direction, pull here, right? And the same thing on this one, I can leave a tail end because I want to hit. But with the smaller one, we can practice making sure that the grip changes accurately. And so this moment, there's a moment of free fall that we're looking for when we're passing the stick across the sill. This is kind of a vital exercise. This is the first thing that he taught us. The master that teaches this form, still alive in China, his name is Guo Nai Hui, and you can find his videos on YouTube. He is an amazing stick handler, and his form BIAN. So the first thing is this, simply turning. You get to feel the weight of the object. How much does it weigh down to the ounce? You get to feel the surface. In fact, another purpose of this is running the wood over top of your hand will make both your hand more sensitive, but will also smooth out the wood, will create a surface using the oil from your hand on the wood, especially if it's a white waxwood. And again, this type of stick, it seems like it's not very, it's like this is just maybe more than a drumstick, right? Not a very long thing. But that kind of power will, if you can get this turning the right way, even the shorter stick, you'll snap somebody's arm, snap somebody's bone immediately with it. So we want to practice this. The next one is, and by the way, we can be doing the breathing. And even with the shorter stick, so as if you're holding it and you want to send it out, the first one is like a windshield wiper is going across this way, right? You can think of either keeping one hand in the center and transferring, or when you transfer, pull this way. And by the way, the same thing when we're using the smaller size stick, we don't want to lose control of it here by letting it slide out of the hand. Even if we can get the strike, we've lost control. So the idea being, when I'm turning here, this is striking, but I never want to let go with the hitting hand. So if it's here, I've lost it. I may have gained the strike, but my opponent may take control this way. So that's too far. I have to move my structure to follow. So this one, whether you keep it in the center like a windshield wiper this way, or you start to pull here, pull to the corner like you're going to hit something. If you're going to do the hit, you can change the waba. You can leave a little bit of space at the end so that you have something to jab your opponent with, right? Same, you're walking down the street, there's somebody, this is a short stick, right? We have it, this type of, just getting from here to here, right? This movement, just sliding, this. If you put that to somebody's ribs, almost anywhere on somebody's person, right, you're going to get their attention. So this first movement is one basis, like a vertical half circle. The next one is the change this way. So the palms changing vertically. And you may, please be careful when you're practicing this one around your computer equipment. If you have expensive monitor and everything in front of you, you can practice to the side because you may end up throwing the stick. The feeling later, the most advanced, is we're actually letting the stick go. We let the stick fly on its own, and we simply catch it in the dynamic after it makes a rebound. So in this one, you can even practice letting it go, but you should feel its weight, you should feel its length, you should feel sort of all the details about it. And this is this sort of familiarity. So even when we're not looking, we know how much it weighs, we know where our hands are going to land on it. This is also, by the way, when you practice with the correct size BIAN gun. Yeah, go ahead, question. Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. You could practice, you can think of it that way, but this is a yin and yang. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the value of this, I would call this a short, medium to shorter size stick here. But here's a metal one, right? And this is a 6-foot metal. This is a aircraft aluminum. This is heavy. The thing weighs quite a bit. You can do the same techniques, but it's heavy. So what is the advantage of having a heavy one? It makes more power. I don't have to do very much, and the power is there. But it's slow, right? The heavy one's so slow, cannot move very fast. The smaller one cannot deliver that kind of power, right? It's only the weight is one small portion of that, but the speed is there. So the BIAN can be used, the techniques can be used from everything from a hand-sized stick like this, right, to a very long spear, right? Long technique can all be used. And so something like what I've got here, like what you're working with, is more than enough. So let's look at what that, if we have something like this, is it's just more close range, right? In fact, for street fighting, for hand-to-hand combat, very dangerous, very deadly to have something. Doesn't even have to be, here's this, right? This is probably about the length of a drumstick. It's quite a bit, it's round, it's got a rounder, this is almost the size of like a small, not like a framing hammer, but a smaller hammer. So this stick, right? Once you get the wrist rotations down for this type of technique, it's nasty. The length is simply if we need to keep the opponent at bay. let's actually talk about the history while we practice a little bit. I'll use the full-size one because it's important. So practice, keep practicing changing across horizontal. We did a bunch vertically this way, right? And we can see this circle and then horizontal. And just do a million. Don't worry about dropping the stick. Get very comfortable floating the stick in your hands. So the name for this, the BIAN, the name of it is called whip stick. That's what BIAN means, or whip staff. And it gets its name both from the sort of whipping action that we use to control it, but also the people that developed this. This was coming out of northern China, and along the Silk Road there would be carriage drivers, and they would have to carry very important cargo, maybe very important people, and they were getting attacked by bandits quite frequently. So the carriages that they drove the horses with, they had a whip, and the stick was about yay long, and again, they would make them for themselves, and then they would have a leather knot with some tassels that were another, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet. So they would sit on top of the carriage. This is just like the old style, European horse and carriage, same thing, right? Sit on top in the old West, right? And they could whip the horses from way back here using the stick. When they were attacked, right, the drivers could get off of the stagecoach, take off the leather tassel for the whip, and use it as so whip stick not only gets its name from the whipping action that we use from the stick, but also it originated with the drivers that used it to whip the horses. So, yeah, okay, wait, we were doing these 2 exercises, right, horizontal and vertical. Let's actually go to some other idea. Is if we're standing, we have the feet parallel. If you take this stick and you put it in the palms, if you have the larger one, this is maybe more challenging. But we're going to make some circles. So as if you're turning this way. So feel like you're moving. Keep your feet gripped and your tailbone and your shoulders locked in place, but like you're bring the energy up from the center this way. By the way, if you don't have a stick, it's you may find yourself in some position. You can make one out of chi. You can practice with your bare hands. Change directions, roll the stick the other way. You can use a smaller one as well. So just like you have a ball and you're rolling it, change directions, do some the other way. So the first, just kind of like our Tai Chi form, one of the first things we practice in this form is an opening posture, which we're going to refer to as salute. And so the idea behind the salute is the same with a lot of it's Chinese. So Chinese culture, we have, whether the feet are touching or whether they're in a square step, the body is straight. And we have one palm, if I'm facing directly towards the camera, one palm is pressing downwards, the other fist is going forwards. By the way, the form that we're working on, that we're going to be practicing this evening and at other times, is also martial art form. So even if you don't have the stick, right, we can use the same techniques to practice a fist, chuan, other martial art, right? So this is also valuable in a different way as well. So facing another direction, standing as such. There's two things. This hand is round and the base is flat. Remember, one of the goals in Chinese culture is the zhong, right, the straight in the center. So we want to have This hand can be off to the side, but it should be flat as if it's level. And round, and also this arm, the supporting arm, is also round and as if we have a fist. So if you have a full-size BIAN, the place where you hold it is 1 grip, 2 grips, 3 grips, 4 grips, right? So this marker here for me is my fourth, where my fourth grip would be, right? There's a specific place. But since we're operating, some people using a Swiffer, right? That's okay. You can use the same technique, right? So here, for a stick this size, perhaps 2 grips, 2.5 grips we're holding. And we have, this arm is pushing forward. It's a punch, but it's not straight. It's round. We use the same kaiji idea, so connect the tongue to the upper palate, relax your shoulders, straighten your neck. And so this first salute goes into, right? This first one is just across from here to here. And this next one, we're going to deal with just a few of these today. So this next one is if you have a sword and it's on your left hip and your right hand reaches across like you want to pull your sword out, but here, and then this other hand is turned out. So the yin-yang palm, just we see in the beginning, the first one hand is open, the other hand is closed. And then when we change to this next position, right, the one hand is closed and the other hand is open. So from here, we have 1, 2. And this posture, if I'm facing forward, is this way. So I have my stick. By the way, this is in keeping with the same idea for the Qigong, this round shape here, right? We want to have this hand going forward in the center and this hand in the hip. This may be perhaps centered this way, but think of the shoulders and also this hand reaching just a bit, right? Almost as if the old style sculpture, somebody holding a lantern. There's power. We keep it centered, but there's reaching just a bit this way here. And then when we change, this change comes from turning the waist. You see my face still going forward. My shoulder turns here, right? And so think of how much rotation you can get from here to here. But for now, we'll just keep it simple. By the way, this first movement here is when we're here. Is nasty one, right? If you don't have something to hit, you can practice on when you go outside, small tree, something, right? But this first one, getting to here, and then the second one is almost the same. This one going down, this one coming up and across. So if we start with the salute, I'll face this direction here. You can turn your hand across and then coming back. 1, 2. So from here, once this crosses, this other one, the hand sliding. So you can think of it almost like a golf swing, going up at an angle, up this way. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, starting from here. So if you've ever seen me doing this form, stepping in, here, you're still facing forward, the opponent is that way, and then moving forward. This is one thing about the BIAN is very interesting, very tricky, is there is no preset footwork. My teacher, Master Yun, has sort of canonized a set of footwork, but the teacher that originally taught this referred to it as 7-star stepping. So I don't know if you can see this, but we have a picture of the Big Dipper here. There's a right. So this 7 stars is meant to represent the type of footwork. Means there's no set pattern, right? It changes as we need to be random. So, but there is one idea, which means there's a direction. So from the beginning, when we start, once we get to here, this next movement has to go forward. So whether if I'm here, and whether I step directly forward and go forward, or whether I step to the side, or whether when I'm here, I step to this side, it's moving forward, right? So if I face to the north from the beginning, from here, my right hand crosses, my center line is still straight, and then I step forward and turn. And so this feeling is, if there's something here and it's going towards me, right? The first move, right? The same idea with the Tai Chi is avoid, make contact, advance. So the first one, we're still vertical. We still haven't made any movement to the opponent. We have this thing if we need to. We can block and come back. Here we still haven't made a movement. This next one, we're moving. So we want to step and do the movement at the same time. So using a larger stick so that you can see facing in this direction. One, two. And with the larger one, if you have a full-size BIAN to practice from the salute, if I'm facing this direction, when I step forward, it's coming all the way back. So we make a full wipe. And if you're using the smaller one, what does that look like? This is the same, these first two exercises going this way. We don't want to go from vertical here, just about natural, where it goes here, and then the arc is more than 180. We can make it 180 even. So this goes flat, and the degree of arc changes to 90, and then changes to 180 and back. But it can go for more. The same thing when we start here. So from here, turn, hit, and this hit, the bigger the movement, right? And so, by the way, the same thing with Tai Chi, the same idea with Tai Chi. We don't want to extend our power, our reach, something like this, beyond our structure. So if I swing the weapon like this, and I lose my balance because I tried to exhibit too much power, there's a name for this, and we'll talk about it quite a bit. So the nickname in the Mandarin is getting played by the weapon, right? So if your weapon causes you to lose your balance, then the weapon doesn't lie. You lost your balance to the weapon, right? So the same thing, especially the heavier the weapon, the easier it is when my power goes that way to get led because it's a heavier object. So we always want to have control, maintain complete control of the weapon, and never, unless it's our intention to send it with so much power it pulls us to bring it back for another. There are techniques that do that, but we're still in control of the item, right? Something like that. Before we continue, questions, thoughts? Yeah, so there is another, you can think of the 7 stars, the Big Dipper. There is one idea, which is a zigzag pattern with the stepping. But that's predictable, right? So if we're talking about using this for martial art, it can change. Yes, to go back to your question, if we go from the beginning, if I have this type of round posture, this is, again, what we would call the salute. So we want to have the Tai Chi principles. The head top is up, connect the tongue, relax the shoulders, sink the tailbone, activate the feet, knees are relaxed. And so from here, just closing the circle, my elbow facing forward, right? So when I'm here, this circular shape that we talk about, if I'm holding the ball here, I'm turning it here. This elbow is still forward if I face this direction. When it's here, you see my elbow stick. So from the beginning, when it's here, I'm turning. And then because I'm still in line this way, the next one, you should feel as if this is twisted like a spring. It unwinds. Your left foot should step forward sort of naturally to the corner. What's that? Uh, yeah, this one doesn't have that. Doesn't There's no order. You can do it with the right if it makes sense, right? But and on this first movement, it my feeling is that because it's wound this way, it feels like we can spring here, right, and make a particular kind of power. But technically, if we start and it's here, it winds this way. I can still step right. You can step left or right. It doesn't, and there's in this form, there's no rule. So, because you're learning it, you can create a rule, just like Master Zhao Yun did with when he canonized this. He made some videos for his students to learn it. He said, yes, we're starting with the left foot. In Chinese culture, a lot of times acupuncture starts on the left. They're writing, when you read the traditional style, instead of in English we read right to left, it's theirs is left to right. So this idea starting with the left, yeah, Taiji form. When you open left foot. And then when you close, like closing a book, close the left foot. So you can make it that way if you like, if it feels, gives you some idea, it makes you feel comfortable to practice that way. So from the beginning, we have a salute, and then we have a ready. And then when we step, we're bringing this all the way, just like with the other one. The swipe is here, and then like we're resting it on the shoulder, because the next one, we're going to have this kind of hit. And so this first class, by the way, we're going to go over just four of these, and we're going to review them over and over and over again, because the first four sort of present themselves in different ideas. This is a very complex form. I don't know how much of it we'll get through ongoing. There's quite a bit of stuff. So we have from the beginning, if I'm facing in this direction. And then when it's resting here, extending. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the first four that we're going to do today. Right. That one is going to be right from the beginning. Close here, and then this one is just like casting a fishing line, or like you want to hit something over the top. So once I get to here, this turning, unwind my body this way, and then I'm going to turn this corner back this way, and this is the most tricky one, is turning my hand into my elbow this way, so the stick is going here, right? Yeah, what? Let's practice. I'm going to face this direction first, and then I'm going to turn the other way. So just watch one time, and then we'll practice together. I'll move closer to the camera. So from here, close, hit, and then this sliding down to the side. I'm still facing forward, and then I'm going to turn my arms like a twist tie. It's a little bit perhaps counterintuitive. Yeah, how did we get there? We'll find out. So from here, maybe I use the larger stick facing the other direction, is here. If I'm facing this way, and I bring the stick across here, and then like casting the fishing line from here, and now you see my hands on this side, I'm going to simply turn them to this side. And now let's reverse. You're holding it here on the left. Left hand's on top, right hand's underneath. The pivot point is right in the center. So I'm going to just simply turn the stick over this way, and then unwind, and then rewind, and then unwind, and then rewind. and then unwind, and then rewind. This is an important one because watch this. If I'm here on this side, so now, how do we get to there? If it's here on this side, take the higher hand and press it into the elbow. Let's look at it with this stick, right? So if it's here, when it's this, I'm going to take this hand and turn it into my elbow so that the other hand is floating free. You want to try to leave more stick at the end of the stick, right? So let's, going from the beginning, if I face the other direction using this side one, right, is if I'm here, I bring this across to here, cast, and now on my right side I have this waba. I'm sliding back here, and this hand I want to bring it on the smaller stick closer to the end, and then I'm going to take this left hand and push it into my right elbow. Feeling like this. Right, right. So this is, by the way, this is the first sort of mechanism. The BIAN is a series of what the master, I guess grandmaster for this technique, for this stick staff form, referred to as hand tricks. So this first one, and even if we do it as an empty hand technique like a boxing art, right? The first one is this flipping this way, right? We do it in Tai Chi. We have it, so if it's here, 1, 2, cast, here. So this flipping here, 1, 2, cast out, recoil, flip. But if we put a stick here, and we go 1, 2, 3, and then this recoil, flip, flip, flip. We're using this like a lever, and we use this like a like the hinge point. And so the hinge point doesn't move. We pull the lever, and that lever causes the other end of the stick to travel very fast, right? And that speed gives us power. Right. So let's practice. We'll go through it a couple of times slow. So by the way, we practice all these techniques slow at first. Later, once you feel comfortable handling whatever size stick, then you could practice with more speed. So from here, we have the salute, 1, ready, swipe, cast, and then waba on this side, and then waba this way. Right? And so you see if you have this hand holding, closer to the, right to the edge of the stick. So I'm maximizing, even though this is not a longer stick, with the longer one, here, here, and then when I waba, I can do one of two things. See, the longer stick gives us a different kind of option. Once it's here, when I cast, if I waba, if I want to hit something very far away, I can waba all the way to the end of the stick and then strike all the way out there, right? So cast here and strike at a very long distance. But if it's a shorter range, after I've done one, how's it go? 1, cast across, 2. This here, I can keep this circle very narrow and move into strike. So the idea is the pivot point is what's important, right? If I want to turn here, this is a very short range strike. I can also turn to here. I've made the pivot point for a much longer strike. Because we're working with the shorter style stick, you may have to get to the end of the stick. And you may slide the waba, the hands may come together. So here, when it's on the side, when this turns, corner, corner, corner. Good. Now you should feel some type of rotating power, right? It should feel like, so you imagine if you have that same rotation, right, you can hit something that's very powerful. So now let's go back, and we're looking for that same type of rotation. There's a free-floating turn in the wrist. If I'm facing in this direction, spin, right? Allow the thing to spin in your hand in this sort of arc. And then spinning again this way. There's another spin. I recoil, and then I let it spin this way on the pivot. And then the next one. We're not going to go into the next one for quite a... Okay, show me the first couple. Sure. Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. So from here, when this is turning, one of the important things is the waba. We can just take the stick and do this, but if I'm sliding my hand, I not only have control, but I'm adding power. This is like in the taiji when we talk about the free-floating power going this way. The same thing with the stick. We're looking for these angles to turn and get the stick free-floating on its own to make a lot of power. But we also want to be in control. So this is why the first two exercises, we're going to come back to this. This is when you're on a phone call, when you're standing around watching something, you can practice these two techniques. By the way, what does this look like with no stick? If we have no stick, press, punch to one corner. This is open hand. 1, 2, open hand, closed hand. They slide past each other energetically. And then the same thing going this way. You can keep one hand in the center. Right? So we can do these techniques. You don't have to use a BIAN. This is also a good boxing technique even without the stick, right? The stick helps. And for me, the primary thing is protecting your equipment, right? If you need to hit someone or something, it's much easier to use a piece of equipment. So back from the beginning, when it's here, when you do this turn, slide the hands. They're both connected to the stick, but you're sliding one. And then when you're casting, the same thing. Make the arc. And then when we do this recoil, this is connected here. By the way, one of the important concepts in BIAN is the gate. So if we use this as a guide, this smaller stick, as like a door frame, the space that comes up, across, and down, just like we have a door frame here, this would be the gate. So in the BIAN, we use a lot of focus on the gate. And in taiji, we talk about pressing to the center. Everything wants to go to the center. In BIAN, a lot of times we're working to the gate, to the side of the gate. So in this one, if I face the other direction and I'm here, this is at my side gate here. And now it's at my side gate this way. Casting, it's on this gate. And then when I bring it down, it's here. And then when I flip this over, it's still the gate. Why don't we focus on the center? Why don't we just hit this one to the center? That's where the person's nose is, right? Why does it go all the way to the side? Anyone know? The idea is we're striking through the opponent, through the object. We assume that it's going to be moving, and or we want to hit it with such power that we're going to smash through it. And so we don't just stop at the center. We're pressing through. So the stick, very large arc moving trajectory, get it all the way to the gate. But we don't want to go past the gate. Why? Because now my structure is compromised and my gate is open. So when I get to the gate, I can keep my gate closed even if it's here. But once I've turned too far, my structure is this way. So we're going to talk about the gate quite a bit. So when I say practice again, let's look for the size and shape of the gate. If I go from the other side, right, if I go this way, I'm thinking of the gate. This line is here. And then when I cross, this is lined up accurately. And then when I step this way, the same thing each time. Oh, what's the next one, right? Let's look. 1, 2, 3, 4. This next one is here. If you take both hands on this side, how do we get our hand up there? Let's go back from the beginning, right? Is 1. And then this is a hit. This is like a windshield wiper, like a swipe hitting up. And then this one, cast the fishing line. And then this is a setup. This is a transition right here. And so we flip to this corner, right? So I have my left hand facing down and my right hand facing up. And so now I'm going to allow this to turn. And then I'm going to turn this hand as well. So my thumbs are facing each other. And then turning to hit. So this is why we're going to work on this next time, because it's already 25 after. But the concept for this one, 1, 2, 3, here, is flip is when I bring this here, but it's all one movement. So after this flip, so it flips up, and then from here, waba, elbow, smash. So flip, and then I'm making my pivot point at the center, and I'm turning that around. So it goes into the elbow, right? I call this putting the hand into this pocket of the elbow here. It's this way. And then just like unwinding all of that to there, right? Don't worry, it will become easier with a lot more practice. That's why we're only working on the first couple of movements in the beginning. Let's practice again. By the way, some of this, how many here have know how a balsa wood airplane works? And you have I used to have these toys when I was very, very young. And it's a lightweight piece of wood that's been cut up into an airplane shape. And they would have a plastic propeller, and you'd put a rubber band. And if you twist the rubber band quite a bit and then let it go, it would cause the propeller to go. A lot of these techniques are twisting the hands in one direction only to untwist them in the other direction. So just like the balsa wood plane, when we start, even from the beginning, we're twisting to untwist. And so from here, this twist becomes an untwist. And so once we've untwisted this way, we untwist more so that we can twist. And then from this twist. So we're going to do a lot of this kind of hand tricks, turning, rotation. By the way, the BIAN, and especially this kind of stick, has another very fantastic application. The same way that we can use it for martial art to do something. If you do have something to practice with, by the way, you can practice the first couple of techniques on a bag, on a stick. If you can figure out a way to set up a pillow, is from here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you can return. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, Just the first 4 techniques. Even if that's all you learn, even if that's all you practice with this. 1, 2, 3, 4. These first couple of techniques, very valuable. The other application is not martial art. It is using the stick to open psychic meridians, loosen tendons, relax muscles, that type of thing. And so you can use it for basic hitting. For those of you practicing at home, those of you on YouTube that are maybe watching something like this for the first time, that are not my students, not my regular people attending Tai Chi classes, practice this at your own risk. I make no claims of any type of medical benefit. For the rest of you, consider this to be as entertainment purposes only. I'm not a doctor, and this is a folk technique. When you're practicing this, there's only a few places that you shouldn't hit. The first one is the skull. There may be techniques to use your fingertips to tap on the skull, never using the stick. You may use the stick to do some massage if you have some very stuck tissue in places. Massaging the skull with the stick this way is okay, but no hitting the skull. The second one is the spine. So even if you're doing the neck, even if you're massaging the neck, you may use this kind of stick this way, and it really can work out the stuff. Don't clank over top of the bones in the spine, right? The spine and the skull, consider them one piece. This is like your the telecom equipment, the antenna, and you wouldn't hit the antenna on your Wi-Fi router with a stick the same way you wouldn't do with your body. But anywhere else is fair game, especially the legs. This type and length of stick. Be careful around the knees. Hitting bone directly, not always the best idea, but is applicable. You can do it, right? You can hit. Practice at your own pace, at your own level. How are we doing for time? We got a few minutes left. Yeah, let's go back through. We'll go 3 times, and then we'll do some qigong to close. So from the beginning, from the opening salute, keep everything round. The spine is straight, as if you're the carriage driver presenting to the royalty, to the emperor, to the empress. And then crossing, facing forward. My gait, this is lined up with the side, right? It's not turned too far and it's not turned not enough. It's turned just right. And then when I step forward, it's crossing here. Again, in line to the corner, and then recoil. Good. Let's go again in this direction. 1, 2, 3. Prep. Turn. One more time, facing this way. Let's go one more time with no weapon. So if it's here, questions, thoughts, comments, ideas. Okay. Again, the same thing. We're always trying to keep the Taiji form, right? The ordering, you have the ordering, but try to keep all of this. Even if we turn all the way here, try to keep this in line this way. There are there's another form that uses a sword that's the same length as the BIAN gun. They're related. It's called a Miao, and they have postures turning all the way this way, right? So when it's here, we want to still, even though we're making some drastic movement, I want to still have my spine lined up. I want to still have my knee behind my front toe, right? So we want to maintain the taiji structure, the same posture when we start. By the way, this is actually the longer stick is far more challenging to use indoors. So we'll have to find out what fraction of the stick we should use for indoor use. But this is, yeah, that's okay. That's actually using the shorter stick, like I said, for indoor training is a much better thing. And also, like I said, for hand-to-hand combat, if you have something, you can use an umbrella, right? You have a folding umbrella works with BIAN gun, even folding one, the small one, without opening it, right? If the first movement, hit, 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 all of this kind of turning techniques is what we're looking for. Take a second, set your stick down. Bring everything back to the center. And then we're going to stand for just 30 seconds. But during that time, imagine that you can inflate everything with chi, so relax your breathing. Even if you're at home watching this, laying in bed, watching on YouTube, imagine filling up, push your head top up, expand in through your feet. And then move your mind into the center, into your dantian. Take a second to smile to yourself. Take a second internally to give thanks for who you are. Smiling to yourself. Take one long last deep breath. And that's it. Enjoy. By the way, practicing, this is the same thing you may start to find when you're, again, sitting around. You're on the conference call, you're stuck, you have to listen to boring people talk about boring stuff. You may find even the pen technique works. You can practice with pretty much anything, any length. It can be too long. If I have a spear, right, the full-size staff, even in here in my home, right, I can't practice it because once I step, it's going to hit that wall, right? I have this. It's pretty long. So practice with the shorter one. All right, let's see how this recording worked with the mic and speakers. If you have questions, thoughts, comments for YouTube people viewing at home, you can contact me the same way. Send an email, text. Have a great evening. Thank you.